Hey guys, my name is Stephanie. I'm with Empower Physical Therapy, and today we have Hilary that we're going to talk with. And the topic's going to be plantar fasciitis. It's a topic that we have been getting a lot of patients coming in our door that have this type of condition. And it's something that has been really mismanaged. And one of the things that I always see on Facebook is someone will post in the running group or in any kind of just, out on Facebook in general and say like, I have plantar fasciitis. What are some of the things that help? And you have this long list of like 50 people making comments on this helps, this works, try this, try this. And so like what really does work with plantar fasciitis and what does some of the research say? And how can you know when you go to someone that they're actually going to be able to help you? Because you hear these horrible stories that people have had it for years and years and years, and there's nothing that you can do. And they've tried orthotics and that didn't fully resolve it. And there's just a lot of components to it that you have to look at in order to get that resolution. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. So let's talk about like, what are typically people feel when they have plantar fasciitis? Where do they feel it? What are some of the common things that they have a hard time doing?
Yeah. So it's going to be really like weight bearing activities where you're standing, walking, and the kind of the main area is right in that heel. So you're going to feel it in kind of the medial side or right in the center of that heel. And that's the attachment point of that plantar fascia. That tends to be where people feel it the most. And then you can also feel it down into the arch area as well. But we hear people describe it as like a stabbing pain, like a knife is just like stabbing it in their heel when they're walking, which is super uncomfortable. And if you want to stay active and keep moving and, that it can be debilitating. So It's really important to figure out like what is causing this and getting into the why. So a lot of times you'll look online, what should I do for it? Okay, there's a ton of foot stretching and okay, ice this.
Those are two common things, the rolling the ice and here's the stretch that you need to do, which doesn't work.
So it really comes down to there. A lot of the research is now showing that there's a blood flow issue to the plantar fascia. And so when there's an attachment at that heel area, we need to continually get blood flow to that area to support the stress that we're putting on it on a daily basis when we're walking, jogging, if we've increased our load at all, like if you've just started running or something like that. So some things that can contribute to the decrease in blood flow are actually the shoes that we're wearing. So that's kind of the number one thing that I would look at is, okay, what do you wear on a daily basis? Did you change your shoe wear off? Like, did you stop wearing this shoe and change to a different shoe? Does it hurt when you wear a certain shoe? And the things that we look for in a shoe are, what does that toe box look like? So the front of the shoe, is it very narrow? Is it constricting the toes? If we're changing what our toes are doing and squeezing on the toes, that affects the blood flow, actually pinches onto an artery, restricting the blood flow to your plantar fascia. So we need to be able to like spread our toes in our shoes. That's one main thing. And then another thing too is the toe spring. So is the shoe pushing your toes up really high? Or is your shoe super elevated in the heel? So some things like that can cause our foot to lose that blood flow and really stretch out the whole bottom of the foot and pull on that plantar fascia.
Yeah. And there's times too, like it's similar to like you have an Achilles tendonitis type thing. Same kind of concepts happen there. You have some injuries within that tendon. So the plantar fascia, it's a fascia. It's not actually a muscle, it's a fascia. And when you have some injuries there, you also where that injury is doesn't have good blood flow and it becomes almost degenerative is kind of what they say. But there's ways that you can actually put some tension through it to get it to start improving that blood flow. And that's, I know, another thing that we'll be talking about with some of the things that we look at and helping people get back beyond the shoes and stuff like that. So talk about more, what are some of the other things that we look at to help people with plantar fasciitis that we have to address?
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely kind of manually, we restore that blood flow. And that's something that people have done, roll out the bottom of your foot. That's actually one really good thing that will continue to help getting the blood flow, warming up the area to that area of the foot that's a little bit degenerative, and spark that healing. So we will do some manual therapy there. But then also looking at your foot posture and how your ankle is moving too. So if the joint, the tissue, and then also the joint, if those aren't moving well, we have to get them moving. So I like to kind of think of the plantar fascia as a rubber band. So if your foot is relaxed and you're just hanging out, you're not even weight bearing, it's going to be loose. When we start putting weight through it, it starts to become taut and tighten. That's a good thing. We need that because this plantar fascia actually supports your arch and it controls how your foot moves in and out. So we need that to happen. But so that's kind of pulling on the band at both ends, right? But we need to make sure that we're getting the right amount of movement in the ankle as well as in that plantar fascia. And if we don't have enough movement in the ankle, it can cause more stress on our plantar fascia. So looking at that. And then also the calf can be really, really tight and pull on the opposite end of the heel, causing more tension on the plantar fascia. So ultimately we want to eliminate some of that tension that's occurring.
Yeah, really changing the mechanics. And I think that's the piece that people miss. We talk about it all the time with a lot of issues in the body, is that people miss that mobility phase, which is how do the joints move? What does it look above and below of whatever we're having issues with? Because if you can't actually get the joint to move, then it's going to change your mechanics. You're not going to get things to be able to fire. You're going to be putting pressure on things that you shouldn't be putting pressure on. It's not used to being having pressure there. And you're going to continually have problems even after doing the manual work and doing soft tissue and those kind of things and strengthening that kind of phase. Then once we get things moving, would be some of what's the next phase?
So then it would be looking at, okay, where is their weakness? A lot of times there's weakness in the plantar intrinsic, so the little muscles in the bottom of our foot. A lot of people have a hard time actually like stabilizing their foot through their big toe. So looking at the big toe is something that we would definitely address. And then once you can figure out how to activate and work some of the bottom of the foot muscles in maybe a non-weight bearing position, learning how to load it and do that with like some single leg work and figuring out how to stabilize and get those little muscles to control and work for you with a higher level of activity. And also through movement patterns, like if you're squatting or doing more functional lifting for work or something like that, learning how to turn those muscles on in your foot.
Yeah. And then really kind of that last phase is really getting people back to activity. And a lot of times that, which just frustrates me to no end, especially with doctors, it's like, they'll put people in boots. They'll do here's some general strengthening exercises. Oh, you're fine. You can walk as long as you want to walk. Well, no, you've got to, that would be like telling people, yeah, you don't need to train for a marathon. Just go out and run 26 miles. Your body's going to be like, what the heck did you do to me? I hurt so bad. Well, the same thing is with this. You have an injury and you've got to train your body to get back to some of the activities that you want to get back to. So give us some examples of like maybe a runner or someone that wants to walk to go on vacation. Like what does that look like?
Well, so you're going to have to slowly progress the loading. We want to make sure that we're not overdoing, but we're not underdoing it. So this plantar fasciitis the plantar fascia is like a ligament kind of attaching into the heel. So we want to actually load it to build it up, but we don't want to overdo it. So slowly, going on a program where you're walking for 5 minutes, and then and the next phase would be adding a couple minutes onto that and just seeing how you feel, not only after the activity, but like the next day too. And making sure that you're able to recover well. So it's it can be individual for everyone too. It's not like everybody needs to do this. So that's when we will work with you and help you figure that out and guide you for your own individual program.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing is that everyone's different. So like some people we don't have to do some things for and others we do. And so that's really where that evaluation piece comes into play. And I always tell people like, yeah, you can go and Google exercises and YouTube stuff and that's great, but is it going to be right for you? And is it that the right order that you need to do it in? And how much time are you wasting doing that? Wouldn't you rather get back as quickly as possible? I don't know how many patients like we've had in the past that said, I wish I came here sooner, so that they could have gotten back sooner, that they didn't wait as long. And I always tell people, you know what, we're on our own journey. You might not have been ready to hear what we had to say back then. So when it's right for you is right for you when you find us. But this is definitely some really good tips to really look at to make sure that even if you don't live in Dallas, you can't make it into our office, you can at least go and use this as a source to see like, what are other people doing? Do you know if you're going to be in the right place or not? And are they going to really be able to help you? So thank you so much for this. This was awesome information.
Yeah, of course. And come see us if you have any problems with your feet, or give us a call.
Yep. And we do free discovery visits, which is like a 30-minute sit down consultation where we can sit down and learn more about what's going on with you, what you've tried, and what are some of the things that we would look at as well. So just make sure that you find us that way and we'll get you in.